Welcome to Dolby Creator Talks. I'm your host, Glenn Kaiser. Today we welcome back our good friend Carlos López Estrada for another of his incredible satellite sessions about filmmaking. And this one is very special to us because today we're talking about the new movie, Dìdi. This deeply personal film from Academy Award nominated writer-director Wang received this year's Dolby Institute Fellowship Award. That's our grant program for exceptional independent films to finish in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. We could not be more proud of it, even before it went on to win the U.S. Dramatic Audience Award when it premiered at this year's Sundance Film Festival. When we read Sean's script for Dìdi over a year ago to consider it for the Dolby Institute Fellowship, we were struck by the specificity of Sean's vision and how he uses the tools of cinema to take you into the experience of a 13-year-old skateboarder in Fremont, California. So here at the Dolby Institute, we could not be more thrilled to help bring Sean's vision to the screen in Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. The film was picked up by Focus Features and it hits theaters this weekend, so be sure to check it out. Joining the panel are members of the cast and crew, and I should mention, Carlos himself is a producer on Dìdi. And of course, Carlos received one of our very first Dolby Institute Fellowship grants for his amazing movie, Blind Spotting. So he brings a special insight to this interview, and things even get a little emotional. This is another excellent conversation as part of our ongoing Satellite Sessions series, which we're bringing to you in partnership with Anti-Gravity Academy and the Coalition for Asian Pacifics in Entertainment. But for now, let's talk about Dìdi. Take it away, Carlos.
Let me start by reading off the synopsis of the movie we're going to talk about today. It's titled Dìdi, and it's in 2008, during the last month of summer before high school begins, an impressionable 13-year-old Taiwanese-American boy learns what his family can't teach him: how to skate, how to flirt, and how to love his mom. Premiering at Sundance 24 only a couple months ago, Wang's feature debut won both the U.S. Dramatic Audience Award and the U.S. Dramatic Special Jury Award for Best Ensemble Cast. We have two of those incredible actors here today. And it will be released by Focus Features on July 26th, which is in 1 week exactly. But the story of Dìdi is a lot more than a festival success story. We see it as a testament to indie filmmaking and how highlighting personal narratives resonates with audiences. So we are very, very proud to introduce our panel, starting by writer-director Wang. Sean is writer-director from Fremont, California. In addition to directing Dìdi, his feature debut, he's a former Sundance Ignite Fellow, Sundance Screenwriters and Directors Lab Fellow. His short film, Nai Wài Pó, premiered at South by Southwest, where it won the Grand Jury and Audience Award, and later received a bunch of other awards all over the U.S., ending with an Academy Award nomination for Best Short Form Film. Next, we have Wang. He is an actor. He plays the role of Chris in Dìdi. After his feature film debut in Think Like a Dog, he was featured in films such as Clifford the Big Red Dog, Good Boys, Raya and the Last Dragon, amazing Disney movie. And he's also been in a couple of TV shows like Gremlins, as well as guest starring spots in Teacher and the Santa Claus. Isaac, hello. Joan Chen is next. She is an actor and a director who plays the role of Chung Sing, Chris's mother, in Dìdi. She is known for many of her iconic roles in film and TV, including the 1987 Best Picture, The Last Emperor, David Lynch's Twin Peaks, and her award-winning performance in Red Rose, White Rose. Joan's recent credits include FX limited series Murder at the End of the World and Netflix's Marco Polo and Ava. Hello, Joan. I think you're here. I see you. Do we see you? Joan is here. I promise she's here. When you get to Joan, just unmute your camera. Yeah, there you go. Joan Chen.
Mute. Hello.
Sam Davis is an Academy Award and Emmy-nominated filmmaker and director of photography. He produced and he shot and he edited the Oscar-winning Netflix short period, end of sentence. In 2023, he became nominated for an Emmy for his cinematography work in South by Southwest, winning New York Times doc Long Line of Ladies. Both amazing films. Please find them if you can. He later produced and shot Nai Wài Pó with Sean, was also Academy Award nominated, and now is here. Hello, Sam. And last but not least, producer Valerie Bush. Previous projects include the feature film Fremont, which premiered at Sundance 23, and also won the John Cassavetes Award for at the Indie Spirit Awards in 2024. A few months ago, she also contributed to A24's All Dirt Roads Taste of Salt and has worked on many of your favorite music videos, as well as so many commercials. Hello, Valerie. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. We feel so lucky to have you here only a few days before the release of the movie. We are going to get started, and it's okay. To start things off, we'll just go down the line, whoever wants to start. I know there's still a big chapter ahead for Didi, and once the movie's out into the world, it becomes sort of like a different story. But just curious today, a few days before the release, what does this movie mean to you? And whether it's as a project, whether it's as a story, just when you hear Didi, like what are the feelings that it elicits out of you? We're gonna start with you, Sean.
I think it means a lot of things. I think it means friendship. It means family in a big way, in all forms of the word. I think the family of collaborators, all of you here, all of the friends that came together for it. But I also think for me, part of the thing of filmmaking that I really love is that you have a relationship with the films, and you like when you make them, and all the shorts, when I look back on them, I remember the person I was during the year, Nai Wài Pó or something was in my life. But when I was conceiving it, shooting it with Sam, the whole campaign, when it's out in the world, and now my relationship with it is over. And Dìdi is just the longest gestating project I've ever worked on. It's kind of lived with me all throughout my 20s. I started writing it when I was 22 or 23, and now I'm 29. So I really kind of look at the movie and see all these different parts of myself, and see all these different friends I made, and people who came into my life and supported the movie, like all of you and all these organizations and institutions. And I see a growth of a person over the course of 7 years. So that's what it means to me. And then next week, I'll move on to the next thing.
That was beautiful. Joan, I'll pass it over to you, if that's okay.
Sure. What this film means to me, it's so hard to pin it down to one thing. Let's just say that I have played a part that I haven't played before. That was an opportunity, and I have gotten to know all of you. So young, so talented, so passionate, and it affects me greatly, makes me again fall in love with filmmaking, and also to be convinced again that this type of independent filmmaking, this genuine, sincere storytelling has a place, and people do love it. It's like a kind of renewal to my love for film, and in a way for my career, because in the past 5 years I really didn't work much at all in the United States. I was in China taking care of my parents, and also work in Chinese film industry. And so this is like me coming back to make a US film, and also to make a film in the Bay Area. I haven't had the chance since I first moved here and made Golden Gate. I never made a film in the backyard of my own home. just to know Sean's family, to have met them, to have grown to love them. It's all in all a really meaningful summer. I also got to spend time with my own daughter. Otherwise, her summer vacation might just be mostly spent with her own friends. And I got to drag her onto the movie set to help out, and actually had a summer vacation with my own daughter. In a way, having a redemptive experience, playing the mother again and playing a mother that's better than I was. So all of that was an emotional renewal also. So it's very meaningful for me.
Well, I'm just gonna say I know that that's not true because you've been a fantastic mother, and we have your daughters who we were nice enough to spend time with to prove it.
Thank
But
you.
thank you. That was a beautiful answer. Isaac, I'll pass it over to you.
This movie means like a lot to me in a sense. I feel like this movie was like something that changed a lot for me personally. Because like throughout my career, really, I haven't like had a film like this really impact me this much, where like I felt so close to like the cast and the crew, like the directors, the writers, the producers, literally everyone. I've never felt so close to such. I mean, like overall, the filming experience really did feel like it was just one huge family, and I feel like that changed a lot for me as a person. It made me more like, I'd say, grateful for the career path that I have, and it definitely changed an aspect of in me which I never really expected before to change, which was, I guess you could say, like I wasn't too mindful of like what I was really doing on set beforehand. Or I don't know how I would put this, where I wasn't, I guess I wasn't the most mature person ever, and I still wouldn't say that I'm mature at all, right? In fact, I think I'm still very immature, but I think this movie made me take, just especially the filming process, a little bit of more English, yes, step more into maturity. Thumbs up.
That's that's beautiful. Um, it's amazing that I feel like we all got to see you come of age, as your own, and also through the character. And I think that was one of the most special things that we all got to see. Valerie, can I ask you the same question?
I think that for me, like, I would obviously echo everyone saying that like we were fortunate enough for this set to feel like a family, and it really is. And I like am super grateful for that. But like to be specific about like my path and what it meant to me, Carlos, you and Sean like took a chance on me as like a first time.
Oh my God, you're gonna make us cry? I'm already crying.
And it like meant a lot, you know. Okay, we're gonna stop.
No,
Turn your
no,
camera off, Val.
no, sorry, keep going, please. Anything
First
else?
question, tears already.
No, I know.
No, I just think that like brought validity to like my career path, and like being able to see the poster that is in multiple backgrounds right now at AMC is just like a little mind blowing. So yeah, that means a lot.
Well, I'm crying now. Thank you. Sam, make us cry more.
First of all, I need one of those posters. I got nothing for my background here.
Or
Sean,
I got two. You can have one of these.
Sean and I met the first day of film school. So to go on this journey of making Didi together was extra special. I had spent a lot of time in Fremont, where Sean is from, where the movie's set, gotten to know his family and his friends, and heard stories about the crazy shit he did as a high schooler, as a teenager. We read the first draft of Didi. What year was it, Sean? Maybe 2018, something like that, 2017. Out loud with a group of friends from film school, and yeah, now here we are, a week or so away from the film's release, and I'm just proud of Sean and everybody involved. You know, it's kind of a moment that we've been dreaming about since we first met.
Jesus, I think I need to go on a walk. I don't know that I can
We take
host-
5.
Yeah, let's all take 5 and come back.
Oh,
Sean,
tear breaks.
I know. Can I ask you to just go down our your fellow panelists and just share a little bit about I know each of them contributed endless lists of things into the movie, but if you had to sort of like just summarize it into like one thing that you feel like each of them brought onto the filmmaking process and just the movie as a whole.
Getting emotional already. I'll go reverse order. Um, well, I think going off what Sam said, I think Sam has been a part of my life for the last 10 years, not even, I mean, as a collaborator, but just as like one of my best friends. And so I think that partnership, that collaboration, that friendship, it's like the filmmaking process and the friendship is so intertwined. And, I think, beyond being a cinematographer of the project, but beyond reading drafts of the script, beyond any of that, I think he's just kind of pushed me as a human, as a filmmaker, as like Sam. I feel like I'm reading your eulogies or something. Sam's like one of the most empathetic filmmakers, and you see it in his photography. But I think if you know him at all, he just has like such a sensitive, light touch in the way he sees the world. And I think that's really inspired me and informed the way that I write and the way that I see the world too. And I think again, it's like we're friends before we're collaborators. And I think that protection in making stuff always goes a long way because sets can be stressful sometimes and sometimes it can test you. And I think no matter what, at the end of the day, we can be like, okay, well, that was a crazy day, but like we can just go hang. And I know that that brotherhood is there, which is, I think, hopefully for the rest of our lives.
Go camera off.
And
now.
I think, yeah, go camera off real quick. I just have to look over here so I don't actually cry. But I think for Val, it's the same and similar thing. I think in making this movie, I felt so protected, right? Like beyond the brass tacks of physical production, it's like protecting the emotions of the story, protecting what the story needed, and never feeling like there was, I think so much of making this movie with you, Val, was sort of like, okay, like we should hire someone who is on a similar place as me, and we can come up together and like know how to do this the sort of friendly, scrappy indie way. And I think part of that indie spirit is just like becoming tight friends and being like, okay, this is going to be hard. And like, but protecting the movie and in all the ways that I don't even know. I know there's so many things behind the scenes that I'm not even privy to as a director, but just feeling that protection and knowing that I can walk in every day and knowing that like, okay, like the movie, the spirit of the movie, the thing that we set out to do is like protected. It wasn't just, oh, I'm here to do a budget. I'm here to make the movie. I'm here to like really protect the spirit of the movie, which I think was really important, obviously, to all of us. And I think that came so much from you. Who was next? Isaac. Well, I mean, I like there's no movie without Isaac. Like literally, look at his face. He's right here. You know what I mean? Like I think that was the most beautiful thing about this whole process is that like, yeah, like I could spend 6 years on a script. I can talk about themes and all this stuff, but like Isaac's the heart of the movie. Like the movie lives and dies with Isaac. And again, like I think to what Isaac said earlier, I don't know, I'm talking about you in the third person right here, but like, I think it pushed me as to be a better director to work with you. And I hope that we all grew through this process. And I think it was really, really amazing to see you grow as an actor, from day one to not even day one, like our first Zoom. And I think like, I mean, this is a dream come true. And I think it really is like a dream come true that is sort of filtered through your heart. Okay, stop there before I cry. Okay, and then Joan. I mean, it's like, what can I even say? Like Joan, I think the most amazing thing about you, Joan, I think on this is that like you are such a legend. You know what I mean? Like you have such an illustrious career. And I think there was so many times on the set where I could have gotten in my own head and been like, oh my God, like she's worked with David Lynch and Ang Lee, and I'm like a first time filmmaker and I need to pretend like I know what I'm doing. But I feel like you really understood the ethos of this movie and us wanting to kind of make it in this homegrown familial fashion. And I think before we even casted you, I kind of felt this like protective spirit from you, and you wanting to kind of protect the movie and protect me. And I think I never once felt, I think one of the beautiful things about working with all the first time actors is like, I've never done this before and they've never done it before. So like no one knows that I don't know what I'm doing. And I think with you, it was like I could have gotten in my own head, but you were so supportive and generous and warm. And I wanted the dream of this movie to feel like communal and again, like homegrown and familial. And I think a lot of that I think came from you. It's like a top down, trickle down. And as like one of the, there was a world where this movie could have been like, oh, like Jones coming onto set and we all had to, be different people, but you really allowed us to again like bring that youthful spirit and make the movie the way that we wanted to make it. And I think hopefully, that spirit is in the movie and that really comes from you. You're like the heartbeat of the movie too. And Carlos, I've said this before, but I think no, I mean like the movie, it's not that the movie wouldn't be like the movie it is today without Carlos. It just like wouldn't exist. Like he was I never went through that process of like sending it to producers and getting producers attached to this movie and figuring out how to make it. Again, going back to that ethos of it feeling homegrown and just wanting to make a movie with my friends, as opposed to I wrote a script and I want to make a Hollywood movie. Carlos is the first person I sent it to after I was like, I think I'm ready to make this script. I have no idea where to start. I sent it to him and he was in like the craziness of an Oscars campaign for Raya and the Last Dragon. And I've been through that now and it's insane. I don't know how he had time to read the script. And he was like, it's a little crazy for me right now. And I was like, it's all good. The next day he read it and he was like, Sean, I love it. I don't know, like, I want to be helpful. I don't know how I can. If you want me to come on board as like, or like, I invited him. I invited him to produce it. I said, if you want to, I was like, you're probably busy, but like, if you're down, we should talk. And he was like, look, I want to come on board as a producer, however I can be helpful. And that started a 2.5 year journey of every single day we were trying to figure out how to make this movie. And it never once felt like, oh, I have like a producer attached and I have to like change everything. It really felt like with him on board, it carried the ethos of I want to make a movie that feels small and intimate and with my friends. And I remember early on, I was like, there's a world of this movie that stars my mom and my grandma. And I think we got halfway there. We got Joan Chen and my grandma. So, I think that ethos really made the movie I set out to make, not just the result, but like the process. And I'm done. I'm passing the mic. I'm not talking to the rest of the panel.
You didn't need to talk about me, but thank you. That was beautiful. So this movie is special for many reasons, but one of the ones that I consider so unique is the fact that it combines these two filmmaking universes, and it's this like fresh, irreverent, like first time filmmaking vibes with also people who have been doing this for a very, very long time, including you, Isaac. So I would love to hear from, we'll go through the first time film perspective in a second, but for Joan, and then we'll go to you, Isaac. Just curious to see how, with so many years and so many films under your belt, what type of lessons or experiences you had in working on someone else's first feature film, and not just that person, but the fact that the group surrounding him was also, for the majority, experiencing their first feature film journey.
When I first received the script, and Sean's letter to me, as well as the lookbook, I was really very impressed. He wrote me a beautiful letter. And I understand, though it is a coming of age story of a 13-year-old, but clearly it's a love letter to his mom. And that love I felt. And then reading the script, I was really excited because I don't get to read such good scripts all the time. It's just such a well-written, solid, beautiful script. And the teen lives, it feels so authentic. my two children they haven't left their teens years for a very long time yet. So they remember I gave them the script, and being so critical, always very critical about other projects. They loved the script and just how the teens talk with each other, so authentic, so real. And the kind of Chinese mother, Asian mother that weren't typical on the US screen. She's not a tiger mom. She is a normal mom, but playful, artistic, very empathetic and warm. So I know, being an immigrant mother, having raised two American children, I identify with the mother's role very much. I know that in my own interior that I have her, I know her, I want to portray her. But at the same time, I also know that physically I am not someone who's able to give birth to a 13-year-old. And so for me, a film, the most important thing, the first and most basic thing, is that your audience should believe the world you create. And the believe is the first thing. So I was slightly concerned, and I really want Sean to succeed in this film because it's such a great script. We met up, and I just want his world to be, first of all, consistent and believed. And I said, Sean, are you not concerned? And he was very firm and convinced and confident. And I think his confidence and look, even in the first lookbook, there was an elaborate explanation of what he wanted his cast to be like, that authentic, homegrown, that family. And having seen his conviction and confidence, I felt good. I felt that we could do this together. And in the end, when I'm on the set, when I'm with Sean's mom and grandma and with Isaac and with everyone, and I did feel this is a family. This feels like a real family. Much to his credit, his vision, I get this opportunity to play a mother that I haven't played before. I haven't played, and so I feel very, very fortunate and happy. I didn't really have a lot of expectations for the end result. I wished it well, I with my whole heart, and so far how well it's done, how far it's gone, really exceeded my expectation. During the time we were filming, we didn't think about that. We just wanted to do the best we could every day. And I'm really thrilled, and I'm so happy about where it is now.
We're so happy that you're here with us. So thank you. To our other seasoned feature filmmaker, Isaac Wang, can you tell me a little bit if you had any sort of like big unexpected lessons that happened accompanying someone or a group of people making their first feature?
I kind of just want to say this because it's like very contrasted to what Joan was saying. When I actually first received the script, and Sean knows this story, I actually didn't like the script at all. And it's not because it was a bad script at all. It's similar to Joan's, how Joan saw it. It was a beautiful script, and it was so real. It was the reason I didn't like it is because I was selfish. I didn't like it for my own reason, because I didn't want to play that character, because to me the character seemed too like alien. It was too foreign. I've never played a character who was like, I'd say like more of a vulnerable version of like myself, or in any case, or in most cases, I'd say is a vulnerable version of most teenagers my age, right? And that's where Sean really just like hit the target with Chris, and overall almost all the characters, is especially Chris, where it was just this super vulnerable teenager that didn't know what they were doing, right? Didn't know what path they wanted to follow, and they were kind of just like trying to figure everything out in this like giant mess, right? obviously I came to like love the character, and it was I definitely say for sure a difficult process, but I'll get to the point of the question, which is working with Sean, and especially with all the other first timers. I would still consider myself a first timer. I've never done a lead character before, or specifically a main in like a feature film. And so this being my first time with Sean, it kind of felt like you just like took two dudes who are like professional like soccer players and then like threw them in a game of ping pong, right? You know, like that's kind of that's what it felt like to me, right? It was like me and Sean kind of both had a vague idea of what we wanted. And I'd say it's not even me and Sean. It was, I'd say most people on the set knew what they wanted. It was kind of just we're all trying to figure this out together. And through each day that we had, we slowly bonded more and more. Um, and so, yeah, I'd say like the experience at all was probably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had working on any set. And just hanging out with Sean and hanging out with Joan, hanging out with Shirley, hanging out with all the boys, that was the best thing that could have ever happened to me in the past summer. So
And for you, for Val and Sam, obviously you've worked on a lot of projects and have a lot of experience, but in terms of having this particular role in a feature film, can you talk a little bit about whether there was one specific thing that was surprising or challenging about your first feature experience? We'll start with you, Val.
I've been involved with other films, like feature films, and obviously I came up through commercial music video, so most of the time a lot of my responsibility comes to maintaining a budget. And I think that like with Didi, for me being a first time producer with a capital P, it was shocking and challenging how hard and different it is to manage a budget when you like really care about the film and the creative of it, because every choice that I like had to make with the team is like, it felt like we were like not always like, I don't know, like it just felt like we like constantly were like giving up things that we like wanted maybe, and like not necessarily like with the entire film, like we love what the end product is, but like how it goes, like we have to like work through challenges and things like that. So it was very different to maintain a budget when like I like really cared about the end product.
We all did. Sam, for you, any big surprises, takeaways, challenges?
Well, the last thing Sean and I did together was Nai Wài Pó, which we shot in Sean's parents' house with no script, no crew, no schedule. Our entire cast was his two grandmas. We borrowed a camera. When Nai Wài Pó got tired, they would take naps, and we would just like sit around and wait until a slash of light came through the trees and perfectly dappled the slippers. So being our first feature and coming off of that and other projects that were similar to that, I don't know, I think it felt extremely organized, almost uncomfortably organized and structured, because it has to when you work on a movie with a big crew and limited time, especially with kids, a cast of kids who have limited work hours. Yeah, I think there was a bit of growing pains there for us, but we got into a pretty good flow after a few days. I think I don't know, we were coming of age in a sense alongside the characters, being our first feature. Not to say that we weren't pretty experienced filmmakers. I think we had a bunch of first time feature filmmakers on this crew who had done a lot in the past, but still, I think whether it's your first or your 10th feature film, it's just hard. It's scrappy and an uphill battle. So, but it was great.
Sean, was there anything for you, like just one thing that you're like, it must be impossible to summarize it into one thing, but if you're like, what was the most surprising, challenging thing about your first feature experience?
Just like self-doubt every day, like, oh, am I ready? Like I think there's one good thing about having a team is like, okay, if I'm too scared, it doesn't matter. I have to do it. But I think there's something about, yeah, I don't know, just kind of feeling like kind of what Val said, right? Like you have the version in your head. And I do remember this being a very concrete, I don't even know if lesson is the right word, but Carlos and I met on his second movie, Summertime. And I remember we were all hanging out, and it was in like pre-production, and he was on his laptop, and he was like very chill, and he was like, I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, it's just like we're like way over budget, so I'm just like slashing stuff. I gotta like cut stuff. And I was like, that sounds stressful. You're like, you look very chill. He's like, yeah, but it's just like happens with every project, every movie. Like you get to that part of the process where the creative ambition and the resources you have come together, and you have to start flashing things. And then I got to, experience that again in like a way that Val said, on a project where I'm like, like the version in my head, like, are we getting there? And I think, again, to their credit, like I felt like the heart of the script was always being protected, but obviously we had the production demands, and I kind of I think it's that, it's just making sure, just always trying to feel like you're retaining what the promise of the movie was. And it always felt like we were one thing away from it all falling apart, because that's just how making a movie is. Like you're just making the decisions every second of every day to protect the heart of the movie. But I think because of, again, like our crew and our team, like we were able to always, like everyone was on the same page of what kind of movie we were making and like the process we wanted to have. So I think I don't know if that answers the question, but
You did.
Okay, cool.
Isaac, I'll come back to you. And you were talking a little bit about how much, how interesting it was for you to portray a teenager that is vulnerable and to explore some of the more like, human questions that come with growing up. Just curious, what type of transformation you went through during the making of the movie, and whether it's, with yourself, whether it's with your family. I remember we talked back in the day about how the process of making the movie also impacted your own relationship with your mom. So whatever you feel like is important to just share about that process.
Yeah, I definitely say my relationship with my mom was like probably the biggest thing that came out of this. Like beforehand, I'd say like our relationship was like we would definitely butt heads a lot. We would fight a lot, and it was like it wasn't like huge like super big fights. They were just like they were like small fights over like little things that would just kind of make us pissed off at each other, and then we wouldn't talk for like a few hours, and then we would say sorry, and then the same thing would happen the next day, and it was kind of just like a repeating cycle. And like throughout this movie, like we had a lot of conversations, and we talked a lot, and we I mean, we were basically, it was just us two living together for one whole month. And every day I was working, and every day she would like make sure I had all my stuff, make sure I had all my shit together, make sure I wasn't falling on my ass. And like overall, it was just, we still fight. We still butt heads now, but it's not as like terrible as it used to be. It's more just like we're not butting heads like we have something against each other. It's more just like friendly banter. Like it's like there's nothing bad that really comes out of it. And I think that now my relationship with my mom has improved so much more than it used to before. And it's not just because of like it's not just because of like what happened with this movie, but also because what happened behind the scenes of the movie. Like what the core meaning of this movie is really just like what I forgot who said it earlier, but it's just it's a love letter to Sean's mom. And I feel like you can take that, right, and you can somehow, for at least in my case, I made it so that I can improve my relationship with my own mother, right? And maybe like in some wild scenario, some kid will go watch this movie and realize that, hey, maybe my relationship with my own mom isn't the best, right? And you could take that and try to improve it. And I think like that's like the most impactful thing that I've taken away from this movie, as well as what I can hope other people can take away from this movie, is just love your mom.
Joan, on the other side of that conversation, is there anything particular that comes to mind in terms of how the movie informed your own, journey through motherhood, or the part of the journey that you're in and your relationship with your daughters?
I think motherhood is not for the faint of heart. It is difficult for anybody, any race, anywhere, because there is not one way, one best way or one right way, and we all want the best for our children, but sometimes we, with the best of intentions, we actually achieve the opposite. And I've learned a great deal actually from Sean's mom. I got to know her somewhat because she's almost on set every day. And that I feel like I, as an older mother, had made so many decisions based on my fear, like, a mother's fear. Sometimes a cat would eat the kitten to protect them from danger. And so even if you just eat it up alive, it's still with that fierce sense of love and fear. And so I think Sean's mom had a much more just stronger forbearance, resistance, and patience, and just waited for her child to come to his own. And then I mentioned having been able to spend a month with my daughter, seeing her on the set, because she did behave differently from on the set than at home, and see a different side of her. And also to, in a way, for me to have a redemptive experience of letting her know my love and vicariously through the work we're doing together. Yeah, it was a very meaningful summer. It's like a beautiful, I mean, of course we're working hard, but it's also like a beautiful summer vacation in this sun-splashed suburban city where it's only 1 hour from where I live, but I had never been before I did this film. And new discovery. As also as a performer, there are some learning and challenges, to work with non-professional actors, because at their best, they are brilliant. Because if they're relaxed, then they're just themselves, and the most natural, the most authentic. And I know Grandma studied her lines so hard, and she, every day I see Sean's mom repeating the lines with her, and you could feel, she wanted the best for the grandson. She didn't want to, make any mistakes, and so much love in this. And for me, as the professional amongst us, then I would have to learn to cater to her somehow, to accommodate her in her timing, in her rhythm of performance, and be the water that just surrounds any shape and work with any shape and make it work. That was also a learning experience. And just the relationship we have formed, I do really love. I think he's got such a great family. I don't think in any other movie sets I had that kind of feeling. It was just a very special summer.
Oh, that's beautiful. Val, I'll go over to you because I think we're very used to hearing about first-time filmmakers' experience, directors going through their first film, but I don't know that we often hear that from a producer being sort of like given this incredible responsibility. Is there, how do you feel that you grew, or how do you feel that you transformed in the process of making your first feature as a lead producer?
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like a lot of departments in filmmaking, the ladder to the top of the department is creative the entire way there. But the ladder to producing isn't necessarily. Like the things that a PA or a production coordinator or production manager, they have to think creatively on their feet, and they have to be aware of what the creative is when they are making decisions with budget or logistics or anything like that. But they're not shepherding the creative and taking care of it the entire project. So for me, being able to do producing with a capital P and being at the top and seeing it from development all the way to editing. It like helped me like rediscover my passion for storytelling, which is really great. And I think that was like probably the most special thing for me with this film was like being able to chime in on those types of things and actually like I said, just shepherding the creative with, Sean, Carlos, and Josh, our other producer who's not here right now, the entire time, and with the entire crew. That was something that was like super special to me and something that I like was able to rediscover about myself.
That's nice. And for you, Sam, just curious about, some people are getting to see the movie now. A lot of people are going to get to see it next week. And the cinematography is so thoughtful and so delicate and so beautiful, as is with many of the other projects that you have done with Sean. Was there anything specific about how you approached the visual storytelling of this movie and how you were able to handle it with so much delicacy, and knowing that it was a story that's so personal, that's so intimate? Anything about your process that you would want to share?
Just knowing Sean for years before we made Didi was huge for the process. I mean, obviously we talked about references and we researched extensively. We watched so many different movies and clips, and we scouted for weeks on end. But I think really the thing that informed the look more than anything was just like being friends and having spent time in Fremont around his family, coming to understand the sort of like pastel palette, that we ended up sort of identifying as the look of Fremont. All of it was really organic in that sense. And I think the look really just came out of, it was derived from time spent there. It was derived from making Nai Wài Pó together, which obviously there's plenty of overlap there, but was its own thing. But I do think it informed it in a big way. We talked a lot about like differentiating between the feeling of being inside the home and being outside with friends. Inside the home, the idea was for that to feel kind of heavy and stifled. We talked about the camera being really heavy. It's really it's a much more static approach to the photography inside the home. Sort of like half of the movie takes place inside his home, and the other half is out and about, and the other half would be sort of untethered and wild. And that's kind of where more of the just like unapologetically crazy, youthful feeling scenes come in. I don't know, Sean, any other key sort of touchstones for us in the look that I'm not thinking of?
I think you covered it pretty in depth.
Before we go over to some audience Q&As, I want to ask you all the same question. So if let's just say that Didi, a main concept that our protagonist goes through is learning to see his own mother, right? And everything that means. Can I just quickly go down the line and see if you have any thought about your own coming of age and one lesson that you think you learned through that experience? I'll start with you, Sean. Well, I guess maybe we should watch the movie to answer that question, but is there anything else that you feel like your own process of coming of age taught you? And it could be, short.
No, I mean, I think it almost echoes back to my first answer of I feel like I came of age as a young adult making this movie because it really lived with me through all of my 20s. And to me, the best form of filmmaking, like when I make a film, it forces me to be the best version of a human because it forces you to be vulnerable and empathetic and curious and really dig deep. And I think for better or worse, fear is always a big part of the process too, because you care so much about it and then you make it and you're like, you don't want it to fail. So you're kind of scared that it won't be the version of it in your head. And so you're overcoming all of these obstacles in your just day-to-day life. And I think by the end process of any film, you're like, okay, it's a roller coaster because at any moment you could just stop doing it, but you kind of overcome these small hills every day of fear and anxiety and while trying to just be a healthy human being. And I think this film was the biggest version of that. It's the thing I've cared about the most for the last 7 years. It's the thing that has caused me the most joy and the most fear and the most anxiety, but the most happiness. And so the fact that it's kind of, done in, some way, shape, or form, at least the process of making it, and now it's the process of sharing it is it feels like, yeah, like I don't know, coming of age is a long thing, but it definitely feels like I'm at the end of something in my life and the beginning of something new. So
Val, any lessons from your own coming of age?
Personal. I don't know. Like most people, my parents got divorced when I was coming of age, so I think that probably like forced me into this like world of independence because I'm also an only child, which I personally think is like a huge reason why I like went down this path of becoming a producer. I think that like there's a lot of independence in producing and like being able to lead a team, and I think that's like something that really attributed to it. So that's something I learned.
Beautiful. Isaac?
he's 15, he's still coming of age.
That's literally what I was gonna. I'm actually 16 now, Sean. I
16,
can,
16, sorry.
Well,
I can get
that's
mic'd
even
without
more
my parents
interesting.
staying there.
That's even more interesting. Jump ahead a couple of years. Imagine yourself at 25, and then what do you think is one of the biggest lessons that you're learning currently right now about yourself?
Don't gamble on video games, kids.
That's great. That's a very good lesson. Joan, is there anything from your time coming of age that comes to mind?
I don't think I've ever had a coming of age, the way we define it. Like here, it's just so vastly
Which is,
different.
it's interesting. It's such an American concept that you have this like period in life where you're supposed to figure it all out, huh?
Yeah, no, there wasn't that. I mean, okay, I never had any rebellion toward my parents. I went to work in films when I was 14, when other people might have felt rebellion is just not one of the choices we had. And also I got very homesick, so I've always worshipped my mother. Um, that she was in every way and she did everything so much better than I did. And so I've never had the rebellion. And I think if we talk about a huge change and a forced growth, it would be my coming to the United States at age 20. So basically, another life started, so experienced such a great loss, then slowly learning and gaining. And so there isn't that experience. And I think it was so funny because the other day some reporter asked about, like coming of age. And I did my first film. I mean, Sean's passion and that urge to need to tell that story, his coming of age story. It's almost like he must tell this story before he continues to tell others. I felt that when I made Shosho the Sent Down Girl, and that was a teenager's coming of age story, and how tragic that was and how different. So yeah, no, it's a different world.
Yeah. Sam, for you, any highlights of that era in your life?
Well, I grew up in a tiny town in the Midwest, sort of like a cliche Midwestern upbringing, high school football coach for a dad. Granted, like a really sensitive, sweet, supportive football coach. But life revolved around sports and that kind of thing. It wasn't a place where people ever really left, and definitely not a place where people ever pursued, anything in the arts. The idea of like dedicating your life to art was, not considered a viable avenue. So I think the thing that I think of is just that moment where I decided to do that and kind of wholeheartedly like form my identity around pursuing that, that dream of being a filmmaker, even though it was outside of the box for, people who.
Well, we're all very happy that you made that
Me
decision.
too.
Okay, we're gonna do some Q&As. I will encourage you all to keep the answers brief so that we can get as many as possible. We'll treat this like a rapid fire round. Sean, okay, we're starting with you. You ready? Any plans on making films in or about Taiwan?
Yes.
Amazing. That's all the info we need. Isaac and or Joan, how do you think Didi will change Asian American narratives in Hollywood? That's a big question, but I know that you have a
Big question for a 16-year-old.
beautiful brief answer.
Well, I hope that this film would do really, really well. And this film really deeply humanize the community, and particularly this Taiwanese American film. And I hope that we will continue to do that, not Asians as some kind of an oddity, exotic, fun comedy thing, or stress the fun differences. And I think it's just to deeply humanize, so that we are just like any other Americans. We claim our citizenship the same way. I just hope this film will do well, and I think it will influence people and their view on us in general.
It will. Isaac, anything you want to add?
I hope it blows up as big as Crazy Rich Asians.
It will. Okay, Valerie, this is for you. And I'm sorry because this is a curveball. What services or tips do you have for getting rights to Taiwanese or mainland Chinese songs as an independent filmmaker?
There's there's a Taiwanese TV show at the beginning of the film, playing on a TV in the living room, and it took us a very, very long time to get those rights. I think the first step is, if you don't speak Chinese, then you should hire a translator, because that was a difficult thing for us. You should have a Chinese lawyer to go over the contract, because that was a difficult thing for us. But I mean, realistically, you're just going to be reaching out to whoever owns the property.
You handled it so much better than I could have ever imagined. Sean and Sam, briefly, what was the key to so much improvisation in this movie, and how did you make sure that it was guided in the right direction?
I think it was, again, I think the ethos of the movie. I think Sam and I did so many documentaries together, and wanting to kind of bring a documentary spontaneity to not just the camera work, but the words on the page. I think I really try to empower Isaac and all the other kids to, learn the script and really take it in. But like, if the words don't feel natural to you, change it and put your own spin on it. You're a teenager, so like bring your own sort of irreverence. And I think all my favorite lines in the movie are kind of written by them in a way. And I a lot of the Zooms we did leading up to in casting them, like there's so many tapes of me improvising with the kids, and we're trying to find kids who could kind of think on their feet. And so by the time we got to set, it was kind of like, okay, I know what they're capable of in terms of improv. If a scene's not working and it's as scripted, I think we could like flip on the improv, and it always kind of worked.
Yeah, when you make something under constraints like this, I feel like improv is unavoidable, because nothing is ever ideal, and that doesn't have to be a bad thing.
Beautiful. Valerie, for you, another one that is probably really hard to answer shortly, but you can do it. Talk to us quickly about the funding. How did we get money to make this movie?
I mean, I think that in general, this movie was funded by our sense of community. Like, we were able to find a lot of financiers who, some of them were first-time film financiers, but they're just people that really, really cared about the movie and the story of it. I think that like probably all of our meetings, like it was very obvious that they wanted to be a part of the project for the right reasons. So that was exciting. And I think that when you're like sourcing funding, that's an important thing to do, because then throughout the process, you won't have financiers like getting in the way of the story that you want to tell, because they're already aligned with it. Finding those people that's through networking. Just unfortunately, that anything in filmmaking, I feel like comes down to networking, and that's like the best way to do it.
Beautiful. For our 3 wonderful Asian American and Asian cast members, and Sean, any tips for wait, let me just read this. Aspiring Asian American filmmaker, directors and or actors wanting to tell such personal stories like Didi?
Be yourself.
Beautiful.
My take is, if you're an Asian American artist, you're also an artist. You're not just an Asian American artist, and you're trying to tell a personal story. Make it personal. Don't try to make it Asian. If you make it personal, it's going to become Asian anyway. And so I think the more personal you can make it, the more honest it'll feel to your experience, and it'll feel more unique and fresh as opposed to a version of something we've already seen.
Joan, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I do agree with both of them. And I think what Sean says makes a lot of sense, that you just have to be really specific and, be true to your own vision. I think the more specific, then the more universal it'll become later. And I think it's such a difficult thing to make your first personal film. It's so impossibly difficult. And I think you really need to know that's what you want to do. And if, in the depths of the night, you ask yourself, is this what I must do? And if the answer comes out to be yes, resident yes, then I think you adjust everything in your life in accordance with that goal. It's just something you must do. If you get enough money, you make it bigger. If you don't get enough money, you still make it. You make it a little more intimate. I think it's just that necessity that you feel like you want to tell the story, just like Scheherazade needs to save her life. Every night you tell a story. And I think we make narratives essentially to save ourselves.
Joan, that was the most beautiful Q&A answer I've ever heard in my entire life. That was beautiful. Isaac, where can we get our hands on the hat that you're wearing?
The secret.
It's a secret. You know what I will say is that if you come to our picnic on Saturday, you can get your hands on this hat, because we're going to be giving it away. So
pretty cool.
Check in our.
Who's coming to the picnic? Put in the chat if you're coming to the picnic, and write what you're bringing.
I didn't know about this picnic.
Oh well, you're invited.
What are you talking about?
Check your email.
Picnic.
Check your email. Okay. Sean, a key movie that influenced Didi. I can answer this for you because you say it often.
Say it on 3. Say it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Human Centipede.
Stand
by Me.
Ratcatcher.
And Human Centipede.
And the Human Centipede.
And Human Centipede.
Isaac knows what that is. Okay, great.
I've never watched that movie before.
Don't watch it.
Don't watch it. Big reference on the lighting though.
How many drafts of Didi did you write?
Too many.
Give us a number.
What I think the one, like, we got to V21 or something, right? Or
yeah.
Yeah.
Joan, where were you when you first read the script?
I think I was home. I was looking at Sean's lookbook again, like just a few days ago, and I'm really surprised how much the film has accomplished, because you see many lookbooks and sometimes when the film came out it was nothing like it. People piece together some kind of a lookbook, and in every detail, every artistic aspect of the film, that it has accomplished its goal. I was looking at everything. I was like, this is amazing. I mean, other than that we didn't shoot on 16 millimeter, I think that was written on it. Everything was so accomplished and also much more. So really kudos to Sean.
What the hell?
What a great!
I have a lookbook right here.
You had the vision. You had the vision, and conviction, and in the end it translated into a beautiful film, and you accomplished it. It's amazing.
That
Thank
leads
you,
perfect to
Joan.
this next question, which is, Sean, will you share a photo of your lookbook with us? And you have it right there. So
A photo
a page, sorry.
page. Which page should we show?
Okay, while you look for that, Valerie is going to answer the next question, which is from a woman named Anna Moskowitz. What? Oh my God! Thank you, Sean. What candy do you recommend? What candy do you recommend while watching Didi when we go see it in theaters?
Reese's peanut butter cup, but the king size one.
That was amazing. Sean, will there be a behind the scenes released of the film?
Yes. Keep an eye out. It's Carlos's magnum opus.
There is a behind the scenes.
Oh, and there's a music video that's coming out too. That's going to be really, really cool. About with the Motion City soundtrack songs in it. Keep an eye out. It's going to be really cool and fun and special.
Motion City soundtrack has a credit song. Thank you to them. Okay, so we're about ready to wrap it up. Thank you so much for giving such beautiful answers. But before you go, we have one final question, and it's the most important question you will ever answer in your entire lives. And that is, as a teenager, who was your first celebrity crush? And is there anything that you would like them to know about how they impacted your life? Sean, you go first.
Sam Davis. And you changed my life. Next.
I think I know, and it was Jessica Alba.
No, that was Carlos's. Okay, actual celebrity crush? Emily Olsen.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Anything you'd like her to know about how she impacted your life?
I hope she comes and sees the movie.
That's fair. Valerie?
Zac Efron in High School Musical, and still Zac Efron today.
What would you like him to know?
I think her name is Emily Olsen.
Nothing. That's great. Isaac, your first celebrity crush?
I think every female Asian ever.
Wait, I know this answer. Who is
every
the
female
person
Asian?
What is it?
You flipped out on her at the Gold Gala?
No, I didn't.
You did. You're
I
like, oh
flipped
my
out on
God.
multiple people at the Gold House Gala.
Okay, well, we're gonna find that out soon. Joan?
I don't think I had any teen crush, because it was simply some vocabulary I did not have, because it wasn't something that was in my life. But after I came to the United States, and when I first saw the film, Kramer versus Kramer, and then the next film was Sophie's Choice, and I just became so fixated on Meryl Streep, would be my role model for the rest of my life as a performer. And just what amazing talent, genius, and work ethic, and a human being. And so I think, not a teen crush, but yeah, Meryl Streep.
That's a great answer. Sam Davis?
Maybe Topanga from Boy Meets World. Yeah, I always wanted to get kissed against the locker.
Anything you would like her to know right now?
Topanga. I think now I associate her in that show more with wholesome, quiet moments with my brother and sister and my parents, and I feel nostalgic when I think of Boy Meets World now. But I don't know. Maybe I'll meet her someday.
Maybe you will. Maybe she will come to see Didi.
She's in the chat right now.
No one asked me, but my answer is Joan Chen, and I would like you to know that I'm so happy to know you. And on that note, thank you everyone so much for tuning in. Please go see Didi. Make sure you follow these amazing artists. We're so happy to share this movie with you. Thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Thank
Wait,
you.
before we jump, everyone on the panel, smile like Isaac in the poster. Take a photo. 1, 2, 3. Boom.
Okay,
Beautiful.
you guys.
Thank
love
you all.
all.
Thank you all so much.
Many thanks to Carlos, Sean, and all of the panelists for joining us today. Please go check out Dìdi in theaters. I promise you won't regret it. As I mentioned, the film opens this Friday, July 26th, in select theaters and in wider release in August. You can find links to the tickets, as always, in our show notes. And as I also mentioned, this episode is part of our CAPE and Anti-Gravity Academy's satellite sessions, free monthly conversations with high-level individuals in film and TV to make resources and information available to up-and-coming filmmakers. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, be sure you are subscribed to Dolby Creator Talks. You can find links to our show on all the major podcasting platforms, including the video version on YouTube, in our show notes. Or you can simply search for Dolby, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're curious to know more about the Dolby Institute, head on over to dolbyinstitute.com. There you'll find information about all of our programs, subscribe to our mailing list, and access the entire library of episodes of this podcast, including all the other satellite sessions with Carlos that we've released. Until next time, this is Dolby Creator Talks. I'm your host, Glenn Kaiser. Our producer and editor is Michael Coleman. Our executive producers are Amanda Schneider and Jack Ferry, with additional editing by Matt Nixon. And our production coordinator is Karen Marroquin. Thanks for joining us.